What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fantasy Birds. We are back with some fantasy basketball. Last week we did some buy low, sell high guys and one guy on the waiver wire. Today we're going to do strictly 4 guys that you need to be adding in fantasy basketball heading into the playoff stretch to help you win your fantasy leagues. Let's hop right into it. 4 guys that we are targeting in fantasy basketball on the waiver wire. All right, the first guy on our list is going to be Anfernee Simons for the Portland Trail Blazers. Talked about this guy in last week's episode that we needed to be snagging him on the waiver wire. He's still available on about 50% of leagues. So with that in mind, he needs to be owned in every single league, every single format, no matter how many players are in the league and what kind of format it is, points league or categories league. We need to be adding Anfernee Simons for a number of reasons. Number one, Damian Lillard not coming back anytime soon. Just wrapped up his surgery, going to be 6 to 8 weeks, reevaluated. Team's probably not heading into the playoffs, so he's looking at a shutdown for the rest of the season, more than likely, as the Trailblazers trend to rebuilding that team. With Damian Lillard out of the picture, Anfernee Simons is stepping into that role 100%. CJ McCollum's still that 2 guard, but Anfernee Simons is going to be the point guard for this team. 38 minutes per game Anfernee Simons has seen over the last 5 to 7 games. Incredible numbers for a guy that you are finding on the waiver wire in most leagues. He needs to be added, and while he's getting the minutes, he's also getting the volume shooting, 18 to 20 shots per game he's hoisting up. This is a guy that needs to be added with the volume that he's going to see and the minutes he's going to see. His role's not going anywhere, even with Norman Powell and CJ McCollum there in Portland. We love Anfernee Simons. Go grab him off the waiver wire. And I'm even buying him if someone wants to sell him, thinking that his production is going to dip in the near future. I love Anfernee Simons to be on my team for the rest of the season. Next guy I want to talk about is Jalen Suggs for the Orlando Magic, rookie out of Gonzaga. Very high lottery pick coming into the season. Pretty disappointing beginning to the season. However, since he came back from that extended break from the team with that injury, Jalen Suggs has been a different guy, averaging close to 14 points a game, similar to what he was doing before. However, the rebounds and assists are piling up in the recent games back from injury. We want to add Jalen Suggs in case he's having a breakout second half of the season for this Orlando Magic team that we expected. Jalen Suggs, one of the most pro-ready prospects coming into the draft this season. We love Jalen Suggs. After this injury, he's starting to ramp it up, and he's starting to look a lot better for that Magic team. We think he's a guy you need to be adding in leagues. Jalen Suggs currently available in over 40% of leagues, so we think you got to get that number down. We want to add Jalen Suggs for the potential breakout that he could see. Next guy is going to be another young player in the Eastern Conference. It's going to be DeAndre Hunter for the Atlanta Hawks, a team that made a very solid run at the end of last year in the playoffs, knocking out the Philadelphia 76ers, not having the same kind of results this season that they expected. However, DeAndre Hunter getting off a pretty long injury, coming back at the end of last season. We all remember DeAndre Hunter was very surprisingly fantasy relevant in putting up solid numbers. Beginning of the season didn't really happen for him. However, the last 4 to 5 games, as he's worked his way back from his injury, he's coming back. He's putting up over 20 points a game, which is leading to fantasy relevance, 30, 33 fantasy points a game. We saw him doing it at the end of last year. So we think DeAndre Hunter's a guy that can get back to that fantasy form last season and put together some fantasy performances that's going to help teams round out the bottom of their roster. He's not going to be a league winner by any means. However, he can be a fill-in for most rosters, that end of the bench spot, to give a team a solid boost going into the playoffs. DeAndre Hunter, we think he can get back to form from a year ago and be a fantasy guy you want to be adding. Last guy on our list is going to be a semi-limited fantasy prospect going forward, Coby White for the Chicago Bulls. His emergence is really due to the injury from Lonzo Ball and Zach LaVine. Lonzo Ball, more serious injury with his meniscus, so he's going to be out for an extended period of time. Zach LaVine should be coming back relatively soon. However, in the time that these two have been out, Coby White has stepped into a role 34 to 35 minutes like he was seeing in previous years. And he's really upped his scoring from his first 2 years in the league. Coby White, somebody that can provide very solid minutes for your fantasy team while Zach LaVine is out. And even as Zach LaVine is trending back into his normal minutes, as he's going to start with a minutes restriction, we think Coby White, with Lonzo Ball's extended absence from the Bulls, can provide some decent fantasy input for your starting rosters while these guys are injured. Nothing long-term for Coby White here, but we think if you need a spot while these guys are injured, I'm throwing Coby White in with the minutes and with the scoring upside that he has been bringing over the last 5 games. Just a guy I want to be keeping an eye out for. But these are the 4 guys that we want to be adding in that order. We want Anfernee Simons is the guy to own. Add Anfernee Simons. He's a long-term prospect in fantasy the rest of the way. Jalen Suggs, hoping that he can hit his ceiling sooner than we thought. Definitely trending in the right direction. DeAndre Hunter, same thing. Already had a great end to the season last year. We're hoping he gets back to that form as he returned from injury. And Coby White, a short-term fill-in as Lonzo Ball continues to rehab from that meniscus injury and Zach LaVine works his way back in. But those are the 4 guys that we're adding in fantasy basketball. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week with another episode of Fantasy Birds.